We got a brand new exotic bow. When it comes to building around it, this is the first one that came to mind. So the whole point of this exotic bow is to try to have everything suspended to get benefits out of it. So with that knowledge, I wanted to pair it with one of the best suspend builds in the entire game, and that is going to be Strand Titan. Now arguably Strand Titan does have a better setup with things like Worm God's Caress and Grapple Melee, but if you want a more team oriented build that will suspend to everything and is really good for things like GMs, this is 100% a build I would recommend you give a try. Pairing it with the new exotic bow is turning this build up to 11, and it's only going to get better because we don't have everything unlocked for the bow yet. So if that sounds interesting to you, sit back, relax, and if you all enjoy, consider subscribing and dropping a like. We're so close to 45,000 subscribers, and every single bit of support from you all is truly appreciated. But without further ado, let's jump right into it. All right, so starting off, let's take a look at our brand new exotic, the Wish Keeper, since this is going to play a very vital part. This has the exotic perk Snare Weaver. Precision hits and final blows build energy towards a Snare Weaver arrow that can be fired from the hip. On impact, Snare Weaver arrows create a pattern of traps that suspend nearby targets. It also has Silk-bound Slayer, so this weapon deals bonus damage to suspended targets, gain faster draw time for a short duration when you suspend a target from any source or damage a suspended target with this weapon. So the keyword here is obviously suspend. With this bow, when you get kills or precision hits, you will build up the stacks, and then once you have max stacks, you can shoot this special arrow to suspend enemies. The cool part about this bow is the fact that any suspend will trigger the other perk, so you always deal more damage to suspended targets, and whenever you suspend an enemy from any source, this can be your class, the bow, anything that will suspend an enemy, you get faster draw time. This is very strong because you can just suspend a ton of enemies, you're going to kill them all with the bow, and then as you're getting kills with your bow, you're also getting those Snare Weaver stacks, which can then suspend more enemies, and it's going to be a constant loop of letting your class suspend enemies and then letting your bow suspend enemies. But talking about our class, let's take a look at our subclass and our exotic pairing to further see how we can suspend enemies. And first off, we have Dranger's Lash. So activate your class ability to create a ripple in reality that travels forward along the ground, suspending and damaging targets it hits. Now we're going to be pairing Dranger's Lash with our exotic armor, the Abeyant Leap, which has the exotic perk Puppeteer's Control. Dranger's Lash spawns 2 additional projectiles, tracks targets more aggressively, and travels further. Gain Woven Mail when suspending targets. So pairing these together is extremely nice because now when you pop your class ability, you will send out these 3 lines that can track targets down, and once they get hit, they will be suspended. The other added benefit of this is that when you suspend a target from any source, your bow, your class ability, or even your grenade, you will be granted Woven Mail. Woven Mail is great for survivability, and since you're suspending everything, nothing can shoot you in the first place, so you become very, very tanky. Abeyant Leap, in my opinion, is one of the best exotics for crowd control in this entire game, and now also paired it with an exotic weapon that can also do pretty much the same thing as Abeyant Leap and synergize with it. It is very, very strong. Let's take a further look into our subclass and look at some other ways we're going to buff this. We are also going to be running the aspect into the fray, so destroying a tangle or casting your super grants Woven Mail for nearby allies. While you have Woven Mail, your melee regeneration is increased. So this is just going to be another way that you can apply Woven Mail to yourself. You're going to be able to destroy tangles all the time. Obviously, when you pop your super, that's also nice to have. But the other added benefit is the fact that you will get increased melee regeneration rate, which is nice for this. But the main thing is you just want to have Woven Mail up permanently 24/7. And this pair it with your exotic and even one of our fragments we're going to get into a second, this will allow that. But speaking of melee, I do want to point out that Frenzy Blade is nice to have because you can melee an enemy to sever them, which is just great for making them do reduced damage. So having this paired with that increased melee regeneration rate is super nice. And also with things like the Shackle Grenade, this is just another way to suspend enemies. So you're also going to want to have this up at all times, so you can just have even more ways to suspend enemies. Now for your class ability, I would highly recommend Rally Barricade because you want to spam it as much as possible. Towering Barricade has a longer cooldown and you can't shoot through it. So with Rally Barricade, you can shoot over it and it has a lower cooldown, so you can just constantly suspend enemies over and over again. Now jumping into our fragments, we do have Threat of Mind. So defeating suspended targets grants class ability energy. This is going to be a no-brainer to take. Whenever you defeat a suspended target from any source, this can be from your bow or your class ability or your grenade, you will be granted class ability energy back. So now since your class ability can't suspend targets, just popping your class ability will inherently just give you class ability energy back, and you're going to be able to have this up at all times. When I was talking about going back and forth with your bow and your class ability, this is the fragment that allows that to happen. Pop your class ability, get the kills with the bow, suspend enemies with the bow, and then you're going to get your class ability back. So you can have a permanent suspend up at all times. Now our next fragment is going to be Threat of Warding. So picking up an overpower grants Woven Mail. We've already went over a Woven Mail a lot, is very strong for your survivability, but this is just another way that you can have it up at all times. So once again, now between suspended enemies, destroying tangles, popping your super, or even picking an orb up, you will have Woven Mail. Now, our next fragment is going to be Threat of Generation. So dealing damage generates grenade energy. Since we also want to be able to have our grenade up at all times, now any damage source that we do will generate us some grenade energy. This just means now you have a third way to suspend those enemies whenever you need to. Now, our final fragment is going to be Threat of Continuity. So suspend, unravel, and sever effects applied to targets have increased duration. So this is going to be nice, obviously, for the suspend, so they stay in the air a lot longer, so you can be sure to get those precision kills. But on top of that, you can also sever enemies with your melee abilities, so that will have increased duration as well. And we also will be taking advantage of unravel with some of our artifact perks. So all three verbs from this one fragment is getting increased duration, with suspend being the main one. But talking about the artifact, let's take a look at it. And first off, we're going to be running unraveling orbs. So pick up an orb of power grants strand weapons unraveling rounds. So now every time you pick an orb up, not only are you granting yourself woven mail, but you also are granting unraveling rounds. This is very strong for just doing some extra damage on the battlefield. You can spread this around everywhere, and since you are using a strand bow, you're always going to be able to take advantage of this. Now, our next perk is going to be Horde Shuttle. So damaging unraveled targets with the weapon occasionally spawns a threatling. So now, since you're going to have targets unraveled at all times with unraveling orbs, this just means now when you damage those targets, you can spawn a threatling. Threatlings will just help you deal some extra damage, kind of like unravel. So this is nice to have since you're going to have unraveling everywhere anyway. And then the last perk that can play into this build is Dragon's Bite. So breaking a combatant shield with a strand or stasis weapon has a chance to suspend or freeze that combatant. Admittedly, this perk is not the greatest since you are running a strand bow. If you do break a shield, there is a chance to suspend enemies, and this will just be your fourth way of being able to suspend a target. So it is nice to throw on there just in case it does proc. Now, for stats for this build, I would highly recommend 100 resilience. This is not only going to give you your damage reduction, but it also gives you increased class ability cooldown for your rally barricade, 100 discipline so you can keep your shackle grenade up as much as possible, again, to just spin enemies even more. And then if you have points left over, I would definitely recommend strength or recovery. I like going with strength just so I can have sever up if I ever need to make an enemy do less damage. That is very, very nice to have. But again, the main two are going to be 100 resilience and 100 discipline. And then if you can get to another 100 stat, I would recommend strength, but recovery is also nice. Now let's jump over into armor mods. And if you'd like to see an in-depth breakdown of this build, be sure to head over to Mobalytics. I'll link everything down below, and you can read over everything over there while I go over it in this video. But all right, starting off with our helmet, first off, we're going to be taking a harmonic siphon. So rapid strand weapon final blows create an orb of power. This is nice to have because obviously you want to make orbs to proc your unraveling rounds and woven metal, and since you're going to always get kills with your bow, you're always making orbs everywhere. And next up is going to be heavy ammo finder, so increase the drop chance of heavy ammo on kill. This is nice since your exotic weapon is going to be a primary. This will proc more often, which just means you can make more heavy, and obviously more heavy is always nice. But then the final mod is going to be dynamo, so reduces super cooldown when using your class ability near targets. Since you're going to be able to spam your class ability all the time and you want to do them near targets anyway to suspend them, this just means you can have extra super energy, and your super is also going to be very, very strong just for ad clearance, also pretty solid for some single target damage. Now for our arms, I do like to take a momentum transfer, so causes damage with a grenade reduces your melee cooldown. Alongside that, I do also like to take impact induction, so causes damage with a power melee attack reduces your grenade cooldown. Obviously these will synergize together extremely well. You're getting grenade and melee regeneration from your subclass anyway, so now dealing damage with both of these will just fund both of those energies back. And then for the final mod, I like to take bolstering detonation, so it grants class ability energy when you cause damage with a grenade. Since you will be able to throw your grenade all the time, this just means now you get even more class ability energy, so suspending targets with your grenade also will grant class ability. So this is very, very strong. Pretty much just every single one of your abilities are going to be feeding energy into each other, so you can spam them even more. Now for your chest piece, always go with resistant mods. Be sure to swap these out for whatever content you're going into. You don't really need anything else here to further play into this build, so these are always just nice to have for your survivability. Pairing it with woven metal, pretty much unkillable. Now for your boots, I do like to take a recuperation, so replenishes health each time you pick up an orb of power. I like to take this one specifically because, again, picking up orbs will grant unravel and woven metal, but now you will also get health back when you pick these orbs up, which again will make you pretty much unkillable, and it is very, very strong. Now next up is innervation, so reduces grenade cooldown each time you pick up an orb of power. This is nice since you're going to have class ability coming back all the time anyway. You can further play into your grenades with this. That's why I would recommend taking innervation over something like installation with this specific build. But if you want to run installation, you could, but you're already getting so much class ability anyway. I would rather play into getting your grenade back, so you just have another way of suspending enemies. And finally is absolution, so reduces all ability cooldowns each time you pick up an orb of power. This is nice because this will give you some class ability alongside melee, and even on top of that, some extra grenade energy. And running an absolution and an innervation will grant you more energy if you are solely focusing on getting grenade energy back. So I would never recommend double innervation. Always go one innervation and one absolution, and this also does give you the other benefit of, again, giving you that melee and class ability. Now for your class item, item, I do like to take a bomber, so reduces grenade cooldown when using your class ability. Again, kind of further playing into every ability will feed energy to everything else. Now when you pop your class ability, you're getting super energy and you're also getting grenade energy. Now next up is powerful attraction, so automatically collects nearby orbits of power when you activate your class ability. Since we can spam our class ability all the time, this just means now we're going to pick all those orbs up, which again, unravel, health, grenade energy, woven mail, you are going to get so much benefit from this. Now finally, our last mod is going to be utility kickstart, so when your class ability energy is fully expended, your armor charge is consumed and you gain class ability energy for each armor charge used. So this is going to be your only mod taking advantage of armor charge, so you're going to have pretty much the max amount of this at all times. So now whenever you use your class ability, you just get even more back, and again, pairing that with everything else in the build, you're going to be able to spam it all the time. It's going to let you pick orbs up, and those orbs also grant you additional benefits. But that is pretty much the build. As a recap, again, all you really want to do is use your class ability to suspend enemies, get kills with Witchkeeper, then suspend enemies with the bow, and then you can further use your class ability again. You're going to get a ton of benefits from picking orbs up. You're going to have woven mail at all times, things like Into the Fray, and even your exotic armor can also provide you with woven mail. Your super is very good for ad clear and even also doing some single target damage. Your grenade and melee also are very strong involved with this build. You're going to have ability energy for pretty much everything 24/7, since everything will feed into each other, and you're unkillable on top of all of that. And if that wasn't enough, this build will also get stronger once we do unlock the Catalyst for Witchkeeper and can craft the God rules specifically for this. But like I do at the end of all these videos, if you were curious about my transmog, this is what I'm running. I tried to go for a medieval alien Strand looking thing. I think it turned out pretty cool, and if you want to make your Titan look like this, definitely be sure to copy this down. But all right, that is going to do it all for me. Let me know what you all think about this build in the comments below. I know this was a staple build when Lightfall came out. It was one of the strongest, and now taking a look back at it, especially paired it with the brand new exotic, it is very, very good. It was something I would highly recommend every Titan to have saved in at least one slot just for team play, because suspend is just one of the strongest things in the game, in my opinion. Anyways, though, I really hope you all enjoy it. I wish you all the best of luck of putting this build together for yourself. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a great day. Peace.